Years ago, Dave and I had a colleague. We'll call him Dr. Z. And if you read the story, ladies and gentlemen, you read all about him. And I want to give you a little bit of background about what actually happened. Here was an instructor that just wanted to create a neat way to start off class, instead of just kind of walking in and having the chit-chat. So he told his class that every time he walked into the room, he wanted them to just start clapping. And that's all he told them. Well, Dave and I had the fortunate opportunity to, having been able to watch this instructor, we were actually sitting in the back of this professor's class. And we have to tell you, it was pretty uncomfortable. And you watched him walk in, and the students just kind of stood there and started clapping. And he'd say, hey, great, thanks. And he'd kind of walk over and he would shake their hands. And it was very uncomfortable for everybody. There was no relationship. They didn't know him. He didn't know them. It was the first day of class. We didn't go back to visit that class for probably 4 or 5 weeks. And when we did, it was just amazing. We're sitting in the back of the class, and all of a sudden, they shut off the lights. And somebody started doing a drum roll on the desk in the back, and it's pitch black in class. There are probably about 30 kids in this class. And somebody in the back says, ladies and gentlemen. And they introduced the instructor, and kids pulled out flashlights, and these students started flashing like you're in some kind of a concert. And the instructor walks in, they turn the lights on, there's a standing ovation, people are hooting and hollering, he's shaking hands like he's some kind of late night talk show host. He said, hey, thank you. Oh, and shocked. I'm so surprised to see that you guys are so excited to see me. They'd sit down, and it was fascinating. Within 30 seconds, he had created so much energy in the room, the students were ready to engage, and they started talking about the topic for the day. But the point that we took away from this was, initially it looked like an eccentric instructor just doing weird things, but what we really recognized is he was creating a culture for his classroom. And it was that culture that allowed everybody to come together in a shared space with shared ideas, a shared vision of what that class was about, and to move forward. One of the things Dave and I also did, and this is at a time we were actually teaching at a military school. I was military at the time. And when you walk into class, the students have to stand up. So I tried something. I walked into class one day, and being that I was an officer and they were cadets, nothing happened, because the reputation was, oh, it's kind of laid back over here in academia. So I wanted to see, to what extent can we really create the reality? So I walked in and was very firm with them and said, I'm your instructor. When I come in, you need to stand up. Well, that shocked them. So I walked out of the room, I come back in, they stand up. And I start going through the roll sheets, calling their last name, and say, when I call your last name, I want you to reply with your first name, and then tell me what you want to be called. Sir, I would like to be called whatever that might be. Well, as I start asking them questions, they get real nervous, and I've created so much tension in the room. And after I get through about 8 or 10 students, I say, you know what, pause for a second. Hold that thought. I'm going to walk out. We're going to start again like I never showed up here before. And they think I'm crazy. I walk back into class. No, keep your seats. Please stay down. By the way, my name's Jim. I'm your professor. I'm so glad to see each and every one of you. And I started walking around and shaking hands, asking their first name and say, oh, it's so nice to see you, and had a conversation. And after about 10 more students, I paused. And I said, okay, observation. What do you notice? Well, at this point, the students think you're just certifiably crazy. But I pointed out to them that it was a controlled experiment almost perfectly. Same time of the day, same people in the classroom, same teacher, same students, same amount of food in their stomach, same temperature. The Earth is relatively in the same point around the sun as it was a few minutes ago. But the only thing that was different was me. As the leader of the classroom, I chose on how I wanted to engage the class. We often think as leaders, we walk into these environments as the leader, and this objective reality exists that we have to just kind of interface with. But yet, when you really step back and think more deeply about the creation of culture, just like our colleague who created this late night talk show host with ladies and gentlemen, each and every one of us have the ability to create the own kind of social reality that we need in which we'll function as the leader. And it's a choice each of us have to make. So think very carefully, because as a leader, life in fact is about choices.